Okay, we are just at 4 o'clock. I expect more people will be joining us as we go through, but we want to stay on schedule today, so I'll get this started. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Allison Eckhart. I'm the Deputy Director of Communications for the Office of Science. I want to welcome you here to the Office of Science's informational webinar on initiatives and programs. Just a couple of logistics to go over. This meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be available next week. And I'll drop the URL for where it will be recorded into the chat. Closed captioning is available. If you click on the CC button at the bottom of your screen, you can get those closed captionings. And then there will be a Q&A session, and you'll be using the Q&A box to drop your questions in for our presenters today. So with that, I would like to introduce Dr. Natalia Melser with the Office of the Deputy Director for Science Programs.
Thanks, Allison. And I'd like to also extend my welcome to everyone joining us today for our webinar on Office of Science Programs and Initiatives. We're going to jump right in. This graphic is an overview of the Office of Science. I note here, I've got the circle around the 21. We update this every year, and we are in the process of updating this for 22, just recently completed. So this is our currently most available summary, but it gives an overview of the research programs that we support, the core programs here, and engineering and applied technology offices, some of our larger research activities like the QIS research centers, bioenergy research centers, energy innovation hub programs. And then it gives an idea of the researchers that we support and the users. I'll be going over some of these in detail in the subsequent slides. So the Office of Science mission is to deliver the scientific discoveries and major scientific tools to transform our understanding of nature and advance the energy, economic, and national security of the United States. There's really two aspects to our program. We have research, which is highlighted here, advancing the frontiers of science. The Department of Energy Office of Science is the largest federal supporter of basic research in the physical sciences. In their 23 request, we estimate that we're going to support 29,000 researchers on our awards at 300 universities and all 17 DOE labs. The other aspect of our portfolio are our user facilities and construction projects. We operate 28 scientific user facilities that support nearly 34,000 users each year. I'll go through these in detail as well. So one of the unique aspects of the Department of Energy are our national labs and the national lab system. There are 17 of these labs across the United States, and the Office of Science stewards 10 of these labs. So this column here are the 10 Office of Science laboratories. The Applied Energy Program steward 4 of those labs, and NNSA, the National Nuclear Security Administration, stewards 3 labs. As I mentioned earlier, we support research at all 17 of these labs, and they are certainly great places for local innovation in those communities. The Office of Science, as I mentioned, stewards 28 scientific user facilities. These are at a snapshot of each of the facilities that we support, spanning all of our programs. These are organized roughly by programs, so our computing facilities, our biological environmental research facilities, neutron facilities, light sources, many different types of facilities. On our next slide, actually, we have them sorted here by the program offices that steward those facilities. And as you can see, they're based around the country. They're largely based at our national labs, but there are a couple of exceptions. The newly operating facility for rare isotope beams at Michigan State University and the D3D fusion facility at General Atomics. And if you look closely, you might see that there's actually one dot missing, and that's over here for the atmospheric radiation measurement user facility. This has sites around the globe, really, and they both permanent and mobile sites. And so it's not represented here because it moves around taking measurements all over the place. Our Office of Science and User Facilities are open to all potential users who are interested in doing research at the user facilities. If you are doing open research and you plan to publish, there are no fees associated with that. You'd submit a proposal, and each facility manages that proposal, the allocation of resources. So all of your proposals to use a research facility would go through a merit-based peer review process. If you're coming from a private company, for example, that would like to do proprietary work, in that case, there would be full cost recovery for those types of experiments. If you want more information on the user facilities, you can find that down here. There's a link on what we have to offer and how to get involved. So I'd like to turn now to the research portfolio that we support. This gives a very brief introduction to the 8 programs that we're going to be hearing from today. And we will kick it off with the Advanced Scientific Computing Research Program with Barb Helland. Oh, you're still on mute, Barb.
Thank you, Talia. As Talia said, I'm Barb Helland. I'm the Associate Director of the Advanced Scientific Computing Research Program, or commonly known within the Office of Science as OSCAR. And in my background, you can see Frontier. Frontier is the nation's first exascale computer, which we just deployed last year. And that's one of the focuses of OSCAR, is to deploy advanced computers and computing data and networking resources. But to make sure that researchers can make efficient use of these, for over 70 years, we've been investing in applied math and computer science foundations so that we're developing the algorithms and tools that researchers often use in their high-end simulations to understand natural and engineered systems. More and more, we're adding artificial intelligence and machine learning to these tools. But another aspect of the OSCAR research and the OSCAR portfolio that we do to make sure that researchers are making efficient use of both applied math and computer science is our investments in strategic partnerships, particularly with the other program offices that you'll hear about later today. And through it all, to make sure that we're developing the workforce that we needed since 1991, we've been investing in the Computational Science Graduate Fellowship to train the next generation of computational scientists. And with that, I will turn it over to Basic Energy Sciences and Andy.
Thank you, Barb. My name is Andy Schwartz, here representing Office of Basic Energy Sciences, or BES. I am the division director for one of the 3 divisions, the Material Sciences and Engineering Division. The slide that Talia showed a short time ago with all of the programs stated that the mission for Basic Energy Sciences is to understand, predict, and we hope ultimately control matter and energy at the electronic, atomic, and molecular levels. We do that in 2 primary ways: by supporting a broad network of researchers, and also by building and operating a number, 12 of those user facilities that Talia showed on her earlier slide, including the X-ray light sources, the neutron scattering facilities, and the nanoscale science research centers. So what BES provides is a vibrant community of academic and national lab researchers focusing on understanding primarily materials and chemical sciences. So I, as I said, lead the Material Sciences Division. We have another Chemical Sciences, Geosciences, and Biosciences Division, and much of the research gets supported through those divisions, and the 3rd division operates the user facilities. As I said, these cutting-edge scientific facilities, including X-ray, neutron, and nanoscale facilities, serve thousands of scientists, the scientists that we support, as well as the broad scientific community. So these, as Talia said, are open access facilities for all researchers to take advantage of. The goal is really foundational scientific understanding of materials, chemical processes at the most basic level as a foundation for future energy technology. So this is all in support of the Department of Energy's mission, and we believe that building this foundational knowledge base is going to transform, energy generation, energy storage, energy use, energy efficiency, as well as other national priorities such as quantum information science and microelectronics, and really to sustain an innovative and competitive landscape within the U.S. Much of the support is through grants to individuals or small groups, but we also have some larger team efforts, including the Energy Innovation Hubs and Energy Frontier Research Centers that are supported through Basic Energy Sciences. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleagues from Biological and Environmental Research.
Thank you, Andy. And hello, everybody. I'm Todd Anderson. I'm the Acting Division Director for Biological and Environmental Research, more commonly known as BER in the Office of Science. Within BER, we support broad efforts in genome-enabled science and climate and environmental research. Within our biology programs, we're the former initiator of the Human Genome Project, but have since broadened out our focus to the genomics of plants, microorganisms, and microbial communities. We also are pioneers in global atmospheric circulation models, which are now some of the world's leading Earth system models. These models incorporate state-of-the-art artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques that are running on exascale computers, providing detailed projections of climate impacts over time and at unprecedented resolution. The BER approach is about understanding very complex Earth and environmental processes to gain the ability to predict the behavior of these systems for a variety of beneficial purposes. Our genome biology programs seek to harness the power of biology encoded in the genomes of plants and microorganisms to understand, predict, and design new biological processes underpinning sustainable bioenergy and bioproduct production. Our Earth and environmental research explores the relationships between atmospheric, land, and oceanic systems in Earth system models at a variety of observational scales going up to the global scale. Through a combination of environmental research and modeling, the portfolio seeks to resolve key uncertainties that prohibit our ability to make accurate predictions of Earth and environmental processes within the context of a changing climate. Both BER efforts are part of DOE's longer-term vision to seek alternative and more sustainable resources for energy and products and be able to predict the environmental impacts of a less carbon-intensive world. BER's research portfolios are supported by 3 national scientific user facilities. We're the administrative home for the DOE Joint Genome Institute, more commonly known as JGI, a primary source for genome sequence information of plants and microorganisms and online analysis tools. We're also the administrative home for the Environmental Molecular Sciences Laboratory, a multi-capability facility with strengths in proteomics, imaging, and NMR capabilities, among many others, and the Atmospheric Radiation Measurement User Facility that Talia mentioned earlier, which is a combination of both stationary and mobile facilities, providing a full range of atmospheric measurements at key points across the globe. With that, I'll turn this over to my colleague for the next slide.
Thank you, Todd. I'm John Mandrekas from the Office of Fusion Energy Sciences. I'm the director of the research division of our office, and I will talk to you about the fusion of our program. Fusion research focuses on harnessing the energy released in fusion reactions, the same process that powers the sun and the stars, to develop a carbon-free energy source here on Earth. Once developed, fusion will provide an energy source that is well suited for on-demand electricity production. This is what we call the base load energy source that can supplement other energy sources like renewables and fission. Energy from fusion will be carbon-free, inherently safe, and with a virtually inexhaustible fuel supply, and without the production of long-lived radioactive waste. Now, this is a challenging task, and to enable this goal, our office invests in several research programs and partnerships. We support partnerships with the private sector to accelerate the development and deployment of fusion energy, which is consistent with the administration's bold decadal vision for commercializing fusion energy. We support 2 Office of Science scientific user facilities to resolve scientific challenges. You can see the picture of one of them on the top right side of the slide, the D3D facility at General Atomics. We support research in fusion theory and simulation to develop the predictive capability for burning plasmas, research in fusion materials, fusion nuclear science, and enabling technologies to address the performance, safety, and environmental attractiveness of fusion energy. We also support partnerships with international colleagues to enable US fusion scientists to carry out research on overseas facilities that have unique capabilities not available in the US. We also participate in the ITER project, a large-scale multinational fusion experiment that is being built in France, but will enable the study of burning plasmas and technology at the reactor scale. Now, in addition to our focus on fusion energy, our program also supports discovery plasma science. Plasma, as you know, is the 4th state of matter, in areas such as plasma astrophysics, high energy density laboratory plasmas, and low temperature plasmas. And discoveries in plasma science have many practical applications, including fabrication of microelectronics. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to high energy physics.
Thank you. I'm Bill Kilgore, speaking about the Office of High Energy Physics, or HEP. I am the program manager for theoretical high energy physics. And in high energy physics, we explore what the world is made of and how it works at both the smallest and the largest scales. We seek discoveries using the tiniest particles and cosmological scale observations of outer space. We study what the universe is made of, what forces govern it, and how it became the way it is today. And finding the answers to these questions combines the efforts of the largest international scientific collaborations in the world, using some of the most sensitive detectors in the world and at some of the largest scientific machines in the world. This quest to understand the world inspires minds, train an expert workforce, and drives innovation that improves the nation's health, wealth, and security. We develop new tools and technology that in turn improve medical diagnosis, medicine development, national security, big data computing, and industrial manufacturing. In developing new detectors, we advance microelectronics, accelerators, and detectors together with quantum information science to provide opportunities and insight for new insights and approaches. Our research is guided by 5 compelling intertwined lines of inquiry, which show great promise for discovery in the coming decade. The Higgs boson, which was only discovered 10 years ago, is now a tool to fuel future discoveries. The puzzling physics of very low mass neutrinos is being probed. We have experiments to identify the physics of dark matter. Observations of the universe aim to reveal the causes of cosmic acceleration, like dark energy and inflation. And of course, we continue to explore the unknown, looking for new particles, interactions, and physical principles. So thank you, and on to my colleagues at Nuclear Physics.
Hi, my name is Sharon Stevenson, and I'm a program manager for nuclear structure and nuclear astrophysics in the Office of Nuclear Physics. And I'm glad you're all here. So nuclear physics kind of takes one size scale up from Bill's talk about high energy physics in terms of we are looking at really all nuclear matter, from light nuclei all the way up to super heavy elements and everything in between. The facility that Talia mentioned earlier on one of her slides, the newest DOE SC scientific user facility to open in May, just had its ribbon cutting in May. The facility for rare isotope beams is one of our newest flagship facilities for nuclear physics. Our next science venture, with that said, that's also on the bottom of the slide there on the right, is the electron ion collider that will be built at Brookhaven National Lab in New York, and it will have the goal of looking inside the nucleus and its protons and neutrons. So in terms of our scope and our scale, our applications reach to astronomy, of course, medicine, commerce, and national defense. We are very interested in workforce development. It's a very, very strong need for our office and for national need. So we have some targeted programs for looking at those efforts. And with that said, I will happily hand off the slides to my esteemed colleague, Ethan Balkin, in isotopes.
Thank you, Sharon. So yeah, I'm Ethan Balkin. I'm the program manager for radioisotope R&D within the Office of Isotope R&D and Production, affectionately known as the DOE Isotope Program, or DOE-IP. The isotope program has a multi-pronged mission to produce and distribute radioisotopes, as well as enrich stable isotopes that are in short supply, to maintain the required infrastructure to enable production and processing, to conduct R&D on new and improved isotope production and processing techniques, to build up the related workforce, And finally, to ensure robust domestic supply chains to reduce U.S. dependency on foreign supply to maintain national preparedness. So in the general scheme of some of the other program offices that you've heard from, we occupy a rather interesting space in that we are both a funder of basic science research as well as a business. We actually sell the isotopic products that we produce. And so some of the activities that you see on the screen in front of you are related to the R&D that we're currently conducting. We have a multi-pronged R&D program.
Ethan, I think you got muted.
Yes, I did get muted and I have unmuted again. We have a multi-pronged program of R&D as well as targeted solicitations that are extended for workforce development and participate in a number of the initiatives from the Office of Science. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Eric Colby from Accelerator R&D and Production.
Great. Thank you very much, Ethan. I'm Eric Colby, Director of the Office of Accelerator R&D and Production. We support the programs within the Office of Science, both by doing cross-cutting accelerator R&D, that is development of accelerator technologies for next generation facilities that multiple offices would use, and also by supporting the commercialization, the technology transfer of these technologies so they can be produced by domestic industry. Key areas for us are cross-cutting basic R&D. An example of that would be high-power, ultra-fast laser technologies, and new accelerator technologies for scientific facilities like superconducting accelerators, magnets, particle sources. We also develop innovative solutions to critical problems outside the domain of the Office of Science. This includes compact accelerators for medical and security applications, high-power accelerators for environmental and industrial applications. We work to broaden and strengthen the accelerator community. Awards are typically structured to be multi-institutional R&D teams to bring together multiple facets of the community. We also support awards to public-private partnerships deliberately structured to strengthen domestic technology companies. Our primary vehicle for this is an annual call for proposals called the Research Opportunities and Accelerator Stewardship and Accelerator Development, typically posts early in the calendar year with proposals due early in the spring. I'd be happy to answer any further questions you might have about this area. Over to you, Talia.
Thanks, Eric. So that gives you an overview of our 8 research programs that have various funding opportunity announcements that are posted throughout the year. We're going to switch gears now to talk about some specific research initiatives that will have either already have funding opportunities out on the street or will very soon. And many of these are targeted specifically at reaching new communities. So we'll start first with the Climate Resilience Centers.
Thanks, Talia. I wanted to welcome everybody to this event because this is really an exciting day for us, and now we're segueing into what the possibilities are for funding. This one is on climate resilience centers, and Todd mentioned in the BER slide maybe 10 minutes ago that we have a very large investment in climate science, but we made a strategic decision this past year to expand that portfolio to include resilience. We just issued an FOA on December 2nd, so keep your eyes out for, or actually just look at the bottom of the slide on the right-hand side. You could hit that link and get the details, but as a preview, this FOA is targeting HBCUs, non-R1 MSIs, and emerging research institutions as leads for any proposals that are being submitted. It emphasizes systems level basic science that can lead to possible solutions, and we expect that the selections will have a major leadership role in the future of our investments. So we're excited about that. A few key points to keep in mind is that, as I mentioned, it's already posted. Pre-apps are due on January 2nd, so I would encourage you to take a close look at that. We expect to issue 5 to 7 awards, which can be up to about $1 million over 3 years. And I would just say, look at the bottom right, click on that link, and you'll get more details as you need. And thanks so much for joining. Back to you, Talia.
Thank you. I will talk about the Early Career Research Program. The Office of Science Early Career Research Program was established in 2010, and we issue an annual solicitation since then. Now, the purpose of the program is to support outstanding scientists during their crucial early career years when many scientists do their most important formative work, and to stimulate research careers in the areas supported by the Office of Science. The program invites applications in all areas supported by the Office of Science. You can see here the list of the 8 programs that we just heard about. So far, the Office of Science has made 868 early career awards. About 2/3 of the awards went to universities and 1/3 went to DOE national laboratories. To apply, applicants should be assistant or untenured associate professors, but on the tenure track at the U.S. academic institutions, or full-time permanent non-postdoctoral employees at DOE national laboratories and Office of Science scientific user facilities. This year, we made a number of changes to the program. Due to the pandemic, we extended the eligibility window for the next 2 years from 10 to 12 years since the PhD. The second change is that we raised the floor, the minimum funding for academic institutions to $875,000 over 5 years. And we do this in order to encourage these institutions to increase graduate student stipends. And finally, researchers are the Office of Science scientific user facilities that are not at the DOE lab are now eligible. This affects the 2 facilities that Talia mentioned earlier, FRIB and D3D. And for more information, I encourage you to go to the Early Career webpage or to send an email to this email address. We had a webinar a few weeks ago that has a lot of information about the application process, the deadlines, and other relevant information. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Back to me, Andy Schwartz again, to speak about another funding opportunity announcement that actually just was issued yesterday, as noted down toward the bottom of the slide. This is for the established program to stimulate competitive research, or the EPSCoR program. EPSCoR is a program actually not just of DOE, but across the federal government, and it is managed by the office that I sit in, Basic Energy Sciences, but for all of DOE. So this is a DOE-wide EPSCoR program that seeks to promote institutional diversity and enhance research capabilities in the EPSCoR jurisdictions. I'll talk about those in a moment. We aim to support competitive early stage research in DOE science and technology areas to develop science and engineering personnel to meet current and future needs in support of the DOE mission. So because it's science and technology, this is supported and coordinated across the DOE, not just the Office of Science, but also with some of the applied technology offices, again, all to support early stage research in support of the DOE mission. The EPSCoR funding opportunity announcement at DOE is issued annually, but it alternates between 2 modalities. And the even years, we fund smaller state lab partnerships to improve the connections between academic institutions in the EPSCoR jurisdictions and the DOE national labs. And in the even years, meaning this year, fiscal year 2020, in the odd years, fiscal year 2023, we issue a funding opportunity announcement for what are called implementation awards. These are larger multi-investigator awards intended to really build research capacity at these EPSCoR institutions. So DOE has adopted and makes use of the NSF determination. So there's a link here to the NSF FY23 eligibility table. There are 28 jurisdictions, mostly states, and a few territories that are eligible under the EPSCoR program. The implementation awards are the new awards that will be awarded will be in the range of $1 to $1.5 million per year for 2 years. There is an ability to apply for renewal of those awards up to a maximum of 6 years. Renewal awards can be in the range of $1.5 to $2.5 million per year. And the real hope here is to promote a transition from these EPSCoR projects into the DOE core program support across the agencies. As I mentioned, a funding opportunity announcement was issued yesterday. Pre-applications are a requirement. They are due no later than January 25th of next year. We will then evaluate those pre-applications and decide which are encouraged to submit full applications, which will be due in early April of 2023. And if you'd like more information, we have planned a funding opportunity announcement webinar for the first week of January 5th, 2 p.m. Eastern time. You can register for that webinar at the link shown here, which is also where you can find a copy of the funding opportunity announcement. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. So I'll speak to our latest opportunity just published today, hot off the press, the Funding for Accelerated Inclusive Research, or FAIR program. This program aims to build research capacity, infrastructure, and expertise at minority serving institutions and emerging research institutions. So this opportunity, it spans the entire portfolio of the Office of Science. So all 8 programs that you heard from today are participating in the FAIR funding opportunity. This particular year, this year, we'll have 35 million available for awards that will cover 3 years. The lead institution is limited to either a non-R1 minority serving institution that's based on the Carnegie classification, or an emerging research institution, which is based on a definition that was in the CHIPS and Science Act of institutions that have less than $50 million in federal R&D per year. At this link at the bottom here, initiative/FAIR, we do have a table that we've posted that indicates which institutions are MSIs, what their Carnegie classification is, and whether they classified as an emerging research institution. So you can go to that link and check if you're eligible by looking at that table. And we will be updating that as information comes out. For example, I heard just today the NSF released their latest data on higher education R&D, which is what we use for the emerging research institution designation. Those lead institutions are required to partner with a single partner, and that partner can be either a DOE national lab, an Office of Science user facility, or an R1 minority serving institution. The awards are up to $750K total over the 3 years, and the partner is limited to between 15 and 25% of the funding. Again, these awards are really aimed at growing research programs at MSIs and ERIs and faculty research programs. The applicant institutions are limited to 1 pre-app per PI and 3 pre-applications per program. So for all of these programs listed up here, the pre-applications are required and due on February 7th, and we will also be holding a webinar in the first week of January on Friday, January 6th, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. The FAIR website, in addition to the institution designation that I just mentioned, it also has a variety of frequently asked questions, and it also has points of contact to establish partnerships with the DOE National Laboratories or the Office of Science user facilities if somebody is looking to set up a partnership and doesn't have somebody that they're already working with. So you can reach out to those points of contact that are posted there. And I'll turn it over to Julie.
Thanks, Talia. My name is Julie Carruthers, and I'm the Acting Director for the Office of Scientific Workforce Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in the Office of Science. The Office of Science launched the Reaching a New Energy Sciences Workforce, or RENEW initiative, early this year to establish a more targeted and intentional approach to building foundations to support undergraduate and graduate student training opportunities and support institutions historically underrepresented in the Office of Science research portfolio. The RENEW initiative was informed by a number of outreach and community listening sessions the Office of Science held in 2021 to better understand the barriers to participation in SC-sponsored programs and to identify opportunities for addressing those barriers. The 6 solicitations the Office of Science issued in 2022 are piloting new partnership models and models of support that directly address those barriers to participation. The awards for the fiscal year 2022 solicitations were actually just announced yesterday. $32 million from 6 Office of Science program offices will support 42 awards to 37 institutions, including 24 minority serving institutions. I want to emphasize that the RENEW initiative is a long-term commitment for the Office of Science, and we intend to double the funding for this initiative in 2023. Next slide, please. The Office of Science's Office of Workforce Development for Teachers and Scientists, WDTS, supports over 1,400 research opportunities for students and faculty at the Department of Energy's national laboratories each year. For all the programs that I'm about to mention, the students and faculty apply directly to the online application process, and you can find more information about those programs and application processes on the WDTS website. At the undergraduate level, we have the Science Undergraduate Laboratory Internship Program, or SULI. This is open to applicants from 2- and 4-year undergraduate institutions. The Community College Internship Program is open to community college students and has more of a technical project focus. Both programs support internships during the summer as well as fall and spring semester terms. So there are 3 application processes each year. The deadline for the summer term applications is coming up this January 10th. These are paid internships, and they also support the travel to and from the DOE National Laboratories and their support for local housing. The Office of Science's Graduate Student Research Program supports graduate students to conduct part of their PhD thesis research at a DOE National Laboratory in collaboration with a DOE lab scientist, and the application for this program runs twice a year. Next slide, please. I want to bring special attention to the Visiting Faculty Program. The Visiting Faculty Program has supported paid summer research collaboration opportunities between faculty from non-R1 institutions and scientists at DOE National Laboratories for almost 2 decades. Faculty are able to participate in the program for up to 3 summers and are allowed to include students, their own students, graduate students and undergraduates in the research collaboration. Beginning this year, as part of the Renew Initiative, WDTS is expanding the Visiting Faculty Program to support non-summer terms, to extend the summer appointments into the semester. And also starting this year, the Visiting Faculty Program will offer a new parallel track focused on enhancing research capacity and STEM training and learning at a faculty's home institution. Next slide, please. So now we're going to transition to some important details about applying to the Office of Science Research Program opportunities. First, a little bit about the Office of Science merit review process. Completed applications submitted to the Office of Science are subject to a merit review process. All Office of Science award selections are informed by merit-based peer review. Applications are evaluated by reviewers against the Office of Science's core review criteria, which include the following: scientific and technical merit, appropriateness of the proposed method or approach, competency of the applicant's personnel and adequacy of proposed resources, reasonableness and appropriateness of the proposed budget, and the quality and efficacy of the plan for promoting inclusive and equitable research. And I'll talk about that in a minute. The review criteria are generally weighted in the order of importance that you see in this slide, but that may vary based on the scope and emphasis of the solicitation. Solicitations may also include additional merit review criteria specific to the scope of the solicitation, so it's really important to review the full list of merit review criteria and the guiding questions for reviewers that are listed in the funding opportunity announcement. Next slide, please. Starting this fiscal year, 2023, the Office of Science solicitations and invited proposals from the DOE National Laboratories are required to submit a plan for promoting inclusive and equitable research, or PEER plan. This requirement is a reflection of the Office of Science's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility in all of the programs and activities that we support, and a recognition that everyone has a role to play in making science more equitable and inclusive. PEER plans should describe the activities and strategies proposed by the PI and the project team to promote equity and inclusion as an intrinsic part of the research project within the context of the proposing institutions. Plans are limited to 3 pages and should be attached to the proposal narrative. As noted earlier, the PEER plans will be evaluated as part of the merit review process, and we have a number of resources on our website to help PIs in the development of their PEER plans, things to consider in the scope of a PEER plan, as well as frequently asked questions and more information on how the plans will be evaluated. Back to you, Talia.
Thanks, Julie. So we'll wrap up the presentation with some general information regarding funding opportunities. So if you are interested in applying for funding through the Office of Science, all of our funding opportunities are posted at this link here. You've seen links throughout the presentation on some specific FOAs that we have, but they are also posted here. So make sure that you read all of the FOAs carefully because they vary from FOA to FOA on eligibility, the topics, deadlines, etc. The Office of Science does support fundamental research, basic research with energy relevance, and that ranges from discovery science to use-inspired basic research. As Julie mentioned, all of our proposals are peer-reviewed, but if there are proposals that are submitted that are considered non-responsive, they may be declined without review. Applications are submitted through grants.gov. So if you are a new institution working with the Office of Science, please reach out to your sponsored research office to make sure that all that is all set up and ready to go. If you would like to reach out to a program manager to see if the research that you would like to propose is within the scope of a topic, you can certainly reach out by phone or email. In the FOAs themselves, they often list a technical contact with their email address, so you can reach out to the person highlighted there. If you're interested in coming in person, the Office of Science offices are in Germantown, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. That is possible. Of course, we need to plan for your visit. So again, reach out to the program manager if you would like to do so. Some general questions that we've received over the years. So how much support can you get? Each funding opportunity will include a ceiling and a floor that will be supported under that funding opportunity. So you can be guided by that. As was described for the merit review criteria, that we do have a specific review criteria on the budget. And so the peer review will look at that. Typically, the university awards will support summer salary plus students. And we do have awards that support multiple principal investigators. So if you're looking into that, you can talk with a relevant program manager. Reviews usually take about 4 to 6 months to complete, and the selections are made based on the merit review priorities and available resources. However, proposals can be held for up to a year for consideration. So you'll receive notification through our portfolio analysis and management system, or PAM system, on the status of your application. If you are interested in seeking Office of Science support for related work that is supported by another agency, that is possible, but they do need to be delineated, which means you can't do the same work that you're already doing on another grant. But as long as they stand alone and are delineated, you can certainly seek support from the Office of Science. Some things to keep in mind as you're putting your application together. After the FOA deadline passes, you can no longer update your application. However, you can withdraw it if you before they are released to reviewers, or by written request if it's already been released to a reviewer. Before a FOA deadline has been reached, you can submit any number of resubmissions, but once that deadline is reached, you can no longer update your application. Regarding the budget, as I mentioned earlier, all of the costs must be justified, but it is certainly acceptable to base it on your prior experience. If you can, please indicate what's an estimate versus a quote. And all institutions should use the negotiated fringe benefit rates and explain any deviations in the budget. As you're finalizing your application, there is a updates and reminders section at the start of every funding opportunity, as well as a checklist that you can use to make sure that you've included everything that's required for the application. We request that you use a single PDF file for the research narrative and appendices. Do not use the PDF binder, which collates individual PDFs with just a single PDF file. Check your math and your budget before you submit. And if you are looking at a renewal or a supplement, that does need to be submitted on behalf of the institution that currently holds the award. In many of the cases that the FOAs that we've highlighted today, these will all be new awards. So these renewals and supplements wouldn't be applicable. As we wrap up, we want to emphasize that the Office of Science is certainly looking to broaden the participation of researchers that we support. That includes new institutions or institutions that don't currently have Office of Science awards, minority serving institutions, predominantly undergraduate institutions, new investigators or investigators from populations underrepresented in the Office of Science portfolio. If you have any questions, would like to discuss your research, whether it's a concept or how you could submit proposals, you can reach out to the relevant program managers. And finally, on our website, science.osd.gov, again, here we have this button, Stay Connected. This is where you can sign up to receive email notifications on a whole number of topics. So if you want to find out every time we release a funding opportunity announcement, you can sign up for the FOA topic. If you'd like to know when we're submitting press releases, this is when we would post, for example, when we're making selections for a funding opportunity, you can sign up for that topic. We have meetings there, including our advisory committee meetings. And then there's some specific scientific topics that you might be involved in. You could follow those, or individual program offices if you want to hear, everything that's related to a specific one. So that wraps up our plan for today. I will stop sharing and we will open up the floor for any Q&A.
All right, thank you, Talia. And thank you to our panelists who have been answering questions in the chat or in the Q&A. We have a lot of written out answers, so take a look at those if you haven't been looking at those. And if you have questions, now is the time to submit them in the Q&A box. So we will start with what is the distinction between FAIR and renew?
Sure, I'll take that one. So Renew, Reaching a New Energy Sciences Workforce, is truly a workforce development program. So it is focused on traineeships for students to get them into the STEM workforce. The FAIR, Funding for Accelerated Inclusive Research, is a research capacity building program for research groups or individual PIs at their institution. So again, Renew has a strong focus on students and traineeships, whereas FAIR is focused on the individual research programs of faculty at MSIs and ERIs.
Thank you. A follow-up question, how does the FAIR program plan to protect the cultural importance and value of teaching faculty at ERIs as their funding models begin to change?
Julie, do you have some comments? I know we've looked into a lot of the challenges that teaching loads have that for faculty at MSIs. I know this came up as part of our outreach. Do we have any input on that?
I think this is going to have to be something that we monitor relatively closely. On the one hand, there is interest from faculty to initiate their own research labs and projects, but we also recognize that at institutions that are predominantly teaching institutions, there are impacts on teaching, obviously. So it's something that we'll need to monitor carefully as we implement these programs.
Thank you. Someone asks about a specifically targeted funding opportunity for workforce development, something that community colleges could also apply for.
So Mike Zarkin could opine on this one, but I believe community colleges would be eligible to participate under Renew. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So
No
Renew
restrictions
is,
there.
yeah, a workforce development effort, focusing on students, and they could participate in that.
How do you define basic research? If something does not exist and requires research, is it basic research?
Anybody else want to take this one? Look at my research colleagues.
I'll take a stab at it from the BER side, because the CRCs, it is basic research, but it's use-inspired basic research. So the intent is that the results would be publishable, but keep in mind that we're trying to make the basic research, let's say, more useful to communities, at least make that connection, but it's really in the basic research domain from a useful perspective.
And I would add to that it really focuses on trying to gain understanding, right? So it's gaining understanding of materials or properties or phenomenon, depending on the space that you're in. That foundational knowledge is the basis for applied research and technology development, but building that foundation, the knowledge foundation, is where the basic research focuses.
It is to broaden the answer. I mean, we're both giving the same answers in the sense there's two categories. One is fundamental and one is use inspired. And the Office of Science actually tackles both. So it's a broad question.
We get this pretty regularly in these webinars. How do different offices handle subjects of mutual interest that are topics in the FOA? Are they a mutually developed FOA? Is there a potential research topic that needs to relate to two different offices?
Yeah, so we certainly have cases that fall in that category, and many of the funding opportunities we talked about today are across the Office of Science. But if there is, you're not sure which one is most relevant, I encourage you to reach out to the technical contact that's listed in the FOA, and they can help figure out which has the better alignment.
Two offices will combine to fund the same research, but often it starts in one office, and then they realize the overlap and talk to a program manager in the other office. But the applicants can also do that legwork ahead of time, so that both offices are ready to see this research and understand that it will cut across the boundaries.
Is the integration of education and research emphasized for the DOE Early Career Program like it is in the NSF Early Career Program?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure.
If you don't mind?
Is the integration of education and research emphasized for the DOE Early Career Program like it is in the NSF Career Program?
To be honest, I'm not very familiar with the NSF career program, but I would say the focus of the Office of Science Early Career Program is on the science that is supported by each program office.
Okay. What measures are undertaken to ensure that the groups of reviewers themselves are diverse and inclusive?
Sure, I can take a stab at that. This has been a priority for all of our research program offices, and it is something they look at very carefully when they look at a pool of reviewers for any solicitation or panel. They're looking at a broad range of demographics, including individual demographic, institutional demographics, as well as their scientific expertise in alignment with the solicitation. So that is something that that all of our program offices evaluate before they begin a review process, and also something that we're documenting more rigorously across the Office of Science.
Okay. Let's see. Are MSIs with lead PIs and early career faculty encouraged to apply for the FAIR program, or do they have to go through the early career program? And then there's a secondary part here. Also, do FAIR proposals have to be collaborative, or can they be a single PI?
So I can take that. So if you're early career, you're certainly welcome to apply to the early career program for the early career FOA. And you're also welcome to apply to FAIR. There is no limitation or otherwise. In terms of FAIR does have a partnering requirement. It's expected that the PIs will partner with either a DOE lab, an Office of Science user facility, or an R1 MSI. So that is a differentiating factor between the early career program and FAIR.
Okay. Just reading through some questions. Is DOE considering offering some kind of central teaming list where more DOE established universities could share expertise and resources so that MSIs and non-R1 universities can identify partners for the science programs? It would be great with the new commitment to investments to offer a way to reverse the usual directions these partnerships arise.
Yeah, so we of course, with the FAIR funding opportunity announcement, we recognize that and did provide points of contacts for the DOE National Laboratories and for our Office of Science user facilities. Of course, I think it would be a pretty heavy lift to come up with points of contacts for each institution, but I think that is certainly a great idea and something we could take to see what we could do in the future in that area.
There's a couple questions about becoming a reviewer for proposals. Is there a process for that?
So I can just provide a general response. There's no single process at the moment. We are working on establishing a reviewer resources website. We would encourage you to reach out to the program office where your technical expertise most closely aligned and contact one of the program managers. They're always interested in finding new and eager reviewers. So I would say your message would be welcome, and come back to our website in a couple of weeks and we'll have some additional reviewer resources up there.
Thanks. Why are we not presenting about wind, solar, ocean energy offices here? Is that another office?
Yes, so this is the Office of Science. We're the basic research arm of the Department of Energy. The applied energy programs, which include the programs that were just listed, are another part of the Department of Energy. So they will, on their websites, they will have listed funding opportunities that are relevant for those programs.
And if you go to energy.gov, that has all of the offices from the Department of Energy, so you'll be able to find those there. Let's see. What are the requirements of new FWP application to BES from national labs? What are the key criteria on PI's eligibility, or anything that is worth noting?
I'm not sure of any new requirements for FWP applications. Does anybody know what's being referenced?
Okay. All right. We've got several people answering questions in the chat. Let's see, how could new startups access some scientists for some technical consultation and access to lab space? I think this question is about kind of branching the our science and the application side.
I can take that one too. So Office of Science doesn't really do this type of partnering, but we do have an office, the Office of Technology Transitions, which does have this. They have the lab partnering service, which is specifically tailored to do that, to match up researchers, whether at companies or otherwise, with relevant expertise at the Dewey National Labs. So I'll see if I can get the website for that and post it in the chat.
Thank you. Are applications from community college deemed more suitable for renew rather than fair?
I can take that one too. So FAIR again has a focus on research development and capacity building at those institutions. So I think yeah, it depends on what you're looking to propose. So if the focus is on training students and moving them towards STEM careers, Renew is the right program to look at. If you're looking at building a research program for an individual faculty member, FAIR would be the right program to look at.
And perhaps someone could talk about our graduate student stipends that we're exploring. Would that be?
Well, if this is in reference to the early career program, what we said is that we're increasing the funding, the floor for universities in order to encourage them to increase the stipends for graduate students. However, this is up to the institution to increase the stipend.
And I can add that the Computational Science Graduate Fellowship increased its stipend to $45,000 starting this year. And we also pay full tuition.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Okay, I think we are just at 5 o'clock. So I want to thank all of our panelists and all of you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Talia, do you have anything to wrap up with?
No, just thank you all for attending. We appreciate you taking the time to learn about the Office of Science.
All right, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Bye.